Twilight and Mordecai were on a date in the center of Ponyville when they heard a large screech ring through the air. They turned, and in the sky they saw a blood-red swarm heading straight for town. Running ahead of the swarm were Hugh and Zecora. Zecora screamed at them to run, and they obeyed. They all ran in different directions as a swarm of bats flooded the town. They heard screams, cries, and the shattering of windows. The sky darkened as the citizens of Ponyville fled from the invading creatures. Twilight was horrified by what she was seeing, but she had to act. She ran in the direction of the library, where she knew she would find the rest of her friends. They would need her help, and she would need theirs.
Come on,
she shouted, and Mordecai, Hugh, and Zecora followed her. In the library, they found the door open. Twilight ran inside, her friends close behind her. As she entered, she heard the sound of a dozen or so bats smashing into the building.
What's going on out there?
Rarity asked.
The Nightmare Queen is attacking the village.
Zecora panted, tired from running.
Fluttershy!
Asked Rainbow Dash.
No, the original Nightmare Queen.
Zecora said.
Judy!
Said Twilight.
She's the vampire wife of Hugh.
Well, I can't just sit here.
Said Applejack.
I've gotta do something.
I know. Did you?
Said Apple Bloom.
I'm going out there.
The girls looked at each other. Applejack and Rainbow Dash exchanged glances.
You sure you should go out there?
Rainbow asked.
We need more help than we can get from us.
Said Apple Bloom.
I wish I could help. I'd like their powers.
Hugh said.
I'm just old now.
You're not the only one with power.
Pinkie Pie said.
I'm a magic user. I can help.
Twilight stared at the pink filly.
You can. Well, not as a nightmare,
Said Pinkie.
but as a black fang. What?
Asked Apple Bloom.
A black fang is what you call a fang that can control the elements of the air.
Said Pinkie.
No, it's more than that.
Said Spike.
I fought the Black Fang before. It's the combined power of the worshippers of the sun and goddesses of old. Who are the goddesses?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
Celestia and Luna.
Twilight said.
Though I'm not convinced they really existed. But if they did, then their worshippers would have existed long ago, and we'd know about them.
So you don't remember after all? Twilight.
I'm the goddess of the sun.
Said Pinkie.
And the black fang is me. I can control the elements of air, and I can scare the ever-loving shit out of anyone. So you can control the bats.
Said Twilight.
Yeah!
Said Pinkie.
At least I can control the wind that guides them. That'll be useful.
Said Twilight.
Let's go.
The friends ran out of the library and down the stairs. They raced into the town square, and there they found chaos. The Nightmare Queen had appeared in the sky, and she was directing the bats as they attacked. Dozens of villagers lay dead on the ground, their bodies torn to shreds. The Nightmare minions had smashed the remaining windows, flooding the square with shadows. Twilight could barely breathe. She looked at Hugh.
Can you do anything?
She asked. Hugh looked at the sky.
No.
Then, the Black Fang intervened. The sky darkened, and the air grew colder. The Nightmare Queen looked up, and the hatred in her eyes turned to fear. Large, shadowy dragon wings sprouted from Pinkie Pie's back, blotting out the sun. The Nightmare Queen screeched, and her voice filled the air like a rumbling thunder.
Please.
Hugh cried.
What the hell are you doing?
Taking back what's rightfully mine?
Pinkie cried, and her words rang true as the shadowy forms of the Nightmare minions dissolved into the sky and darkness.
I can't believe it.
Said Twilight, her voice shaky.
I don't know what to say.
It was the black thing all along.
Said Hugh.
Not the Nightmare Queen.
Pinkie Pie stepped forward, and her smile was as wide as the horizon. She stared at the friends.
What's the matter? Guys, don't I have magical things?
You certainly do.
Said Rainbow Dash.
And I'm glad to have them back.
Said Pinkie Pie.
Come on, let's get this show on the road.
With the bats gone, the Nightmare Queen was forced to land in the center of town square, across from Pinkie and the others. A single bat fluttered in the air, and it carried a letter to the Nightmare Queen.
You will leave this land.
The letter read.
You will not take over these people's minds and destroy their way of life. You will return to the darkness from which you came, and you will stay there forever.
The Nightmare Queen laughed.
Do you think that's going to keep me from taking over this village? I don't need darkness. I'm the Nightmare Queen. Darkness is my birthright.
I think it was a message.
Said Zecora.
They want to talk to us.
Twilight Sparkle nodded.
And we need to answer.
Yeah!
Said Rainbow Dash.
Here is my answer.
The Nightmare Queen said, reaching out with her hand. Her shadow stretched across the town square, growing even larger.
You do not scare me.
The letter said.
I will not leave this place, and I will not allow you to take it from its rightful inhabitants. I will fight you tooth and nail until the end of time. I will not stop.
You are just a letter.
The Nightmare Queen snarled, before tearing the letter to pieces.
I'm a flesh and blood being, and I'm a Nightmare Queen.
The friends stared at the Nightmare Queen, who was growing ever larger, her shadow stretching across the town square. The Nightmare Queen laughed.
You really think I'm going to let myself be defeated by a few letters and a few pieces of torn up paper?
I don't know,
Said Twilight Sparkle.
but I guess we'll find out.
The group charged at the Nightmare Queen, who'd grown as tall as a building. Their hooves struck against her, but she didn't even seem to notice. Her eyes were set on the friends, and nothing could stop her.
We did it.
Said Zecora.
We stopped her.
Said Rainbow Dash.
We are the nightmare.
Said Twilight Sparkle. Pinkie Pie hugged her friends.
We are the nightmare, and we will rule the night.
The Nightmare Queen kicked at the ground, sending the group flying in different directions. The friends landed in different parts of town square, and they looked at one another, wondering how they were supposed to work together now. Then they heard the screams. The Nightmare Queen had taken control of the corpses littered about town. They'd lost their minds, and they were attacking the town. The Nightmare Queen's shadow had stretched across the sky, growing to fill it.
Come on!
Cried Pinkie Pie.
We gotta get back to the Everfree Forest!
Twilight Sparkle looked at Rainbow Dash.
Are you okay?
Rainbow Dash looked at her friends.
Are you okay?
She asked. They nodded. Then they ran. It was a nightmare indeed, and it was only the beginning. They regrouped in the forest, shaken by the sounds of terror emanating from their hometown.
After everything else, Ponyville is being destroyed once again.
Applejack said.
I don't think I can take any more.
We can't give up.
Twilight Sparkle said.
We have to help those in danger.
Yeah.
Said Applejack.
And we have to stop the nightmare once and for all.
Besides, your boyfriend is still back there.
Pinkie told Twilight.
And so is Apple Bloom.
Applejack said.
Okay,
Said Twilight.
let's go.
The friends flew to Ponyville, determined to save their home from the Nightmare's grasp. They landed on the town square once again, and they surveyed the situation. The Nightmare Queen's shadow still loomed above, but it had receded just enough for the sun to be visible.
The nightmare's shadow is thinning.
Said Twilight.
We can't beat her if she's only halfway here. Then what do we do?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
We split up.
Said Twilight.
And hide somewhere.
Added Zecora.
And watch out for each other.
Said Applejack.
Right?
Said Twilight. The friends took off. They'd just hidden themselves when they heard the screams. It was happening again. The Nightmare Queen had completely taken over Ponyville.
We have to stop her.
Cried Twilight Sparkle.
Judy,
Hugh shouted up at the Nightmare Queen.
you must stop this.
I can't.
The Nightmare Queen shouted.
The dead will not dare. They will feed me. They will keep me alive.
We have to get in there.
Said Applejack.
I can't.
Said Twilight.
I'm too weak to fight her. But you can. Go.
Said Pinkie Pie.
Let me do it. Pinkie, no.
Said Twilight.
I'm the Princess of Fun.
Said Pinkie. She flew up into the sky, heading for the Nightmare Queen.
Be careful.
Twilight shouted at her.
I know how to deal with a nightmare.
Said Pinkie.
I'll stop her.
We hope.
Said Applejack. Pinkie Pie flew directly at the Nightmare Queen. The Nightmare Queen was too caught up in her own madness to even notice her. But Pinkie Pie noticed her, and she went for her eyes. The Nightmare Queen screamed, her face twisted in pain. She tried to block the eyes of the living with her hand, but the more she tried to block them, the more they burned. Her eyes were destroyed. She began to shrink, focusing her power on healing herself. The dead on the streets of Ponyville moved closer to life, their corpses coming back to life. They shuffled towards the Nightmare Queen.
Hurry.
Said Twilight Sparkle.
We are too late.
Said Zecora. The Nightmare Queen was smaller now, and she was in terrible pain, but her power was regaining strength. The dead pressed in, reaching out for her, trying to touch her.
No.
Cried Hugh. He tried to jump up to the Nightmare Queen, but the dead hands closed around him.
You.
Cried Judy, her eyes red and puffy. She reached out for him, but the dead hands closed on her, too. Pinkie Pie flew at the Nightmare Queen one last time, and her eyes burned like fire. The Nightmare Queen shrieked as the flames spread. She turned to dust and scattered to the wind. The dead came alive one last time. The nightmare was over. The friends let out sighs of relief. Hugh fell to his knees as the slaughtered civilians awoke from their death, as if waking from a powerful nap. The ashes of his wife scattered around him. Hugh sobbed.
Why do you have to take her from me?
He cried.
Gee, why you have to take her from me? Why?
Whew, it's okay.
Said Zecora. She held out her arms and he fell into them. The friends gathered around the traumatized man. They had to help him deal with his terrible loss. The sun rose and the birds began to sing. The friends stood on the town square of Ponyville, watching the sunrise.
How did we get here?
Rainbow Dash asked.
We're here because we did what we had to.
Said Twilight Sparkle.
Because we stuck together.
Said Applejack.
Because we trusted each other.
Because we had each other's backs.
The friends hugged. They were the best friends any of them could have asked for.
And because we stopped the nightmare.
Said Twilight Sparkle.
Because we stopped the nightmare.
Applejack replied.
I guess this is how it ends.
Said Rainbow Dash.
I guess this is how it ends.
Said Rarity as they hugged again.
I should go check on Mordecai.
Twilight said.
I should go check on Apple Bloom.
Said Applejack.
I think I'm going to stay here.
Said Zecora, hugging the sobbing Hugh.
You sure?
Asked Twilight. Said Zecora.
This is where I need to be.
Twilight nodded.
Okay.
Twilight and Applejack found Mordecai and Apple Bloom with Spike in the library. They told them what had happened, and Apple Bloom began to cry again.
The poor dears.
Said Spike.
They must be traumatized.
They're alright.
Said Twilight.
I think.
I'm sorry.
Said Mordecai.
I'm sorry I didn't trust you.
It's okay.
Said Twilight.
You did the right thing. Probably.
So did you.
Said Mordecai with a hint of a smile.
Thanks for not abandoning me.
You're welcome.
Said Twilight.
But what are we going to do about the nightmare?
Said Applejack.
I guess we'll just have to face it.
Said Apple Bloom. A voice whispered from the shadows of the library. It was Judy's voice.
The nightmare is not all you have to fear.
She said.
The blood-hated one's time draws near. She is coming for all of us.
We know.
Said Applejack.
And we'll stop her.
I know you will.
Said Judy.
I will help you.
How? What can you do?
The dead can do many things.
said Judy.
Like what?
Said Applejack.
Like this, I can bring them to life.
You mean you can raise the dead?
Yes, and the more dead I bring, the more powerful I become. I can be with you every time you need me.
Will that make a difference?
Said Applebloom.
I hope so.
Said Applejack.
What about you?
Twilight asked.
He's mourning you right now.
I cannot face him.
Judy said.
I cannot show myself. The dead do not grieve, but this does not mean that I do not feel. I can help him from afar.
Well, okay.
Said Applejack.
I guess that's something we can do. Now, we just have to find this balloon head.
I will help you.
Judy said.
I will show you where to find her.
Great.
Said Applejack.
Come on, girls. We got work to do.
You're going on another adventure?
Mordecai asked.
When will you get to rest? I wanted to take you to a concert.
There will be time for that later.
Said Twilight.
I guess.
Come on, Twilight.
Said Applebloom.
I feel that we need to go to the tower. I agree.
Said Twilight.
I have to go get ready.
Me too.
Said Applejack.
Spike, you coming? Absolutely.
Said Spike.
Let me call some friends to help.
The friends gathered in the tower as the sun set. Twilight, Applejack, Pinkie Pie, and Zecora met with Spike and his allies Roxy, Jolene, and Cammy. Applebloom had been ordered to stay home, and Zecora had decided to keep Hugh out of this for his own sake. Twilight's other friends had opted out of the journey for their own reasons. The 8 friends met with Judy's ghost in the tower at nightfall.
Are you ready?
Judy asked them.
We are.
Said Twilight.
Okay.
Said Judy.
Follow me.
And that's where we're leaving off for now. So a lot happened in Ponyville, not all of it coherent. But I think the AI painted a somewhat understandable epic battle, letter and all. I wasn't expecting the first Nightmare Queen to be taken out so soon after she first appeared, but the seemingly reformed Ghost of Judy will be sticking around for most of this season. Since their party's already kinda crowded, I decided to just kinda depict her as completely invisible rather than do the semi-transparent thing like I did with Velma's ghost. Hopefully this will help keep the screen slightly less full to have one less character on the screen when the group is there. Next time, however, we'll be jumping over to Fluttershy to follow up on her mission that she agreed to with Maleficent at the end of the previous season. As for now though, thank you for watching, and if you happen to miss the previous episode, here's a clip. Hugh carefully put his foot down and walked into a new room.
This is Nightmare Child's lair?
He cried.
Shoo.
Said Zecora.
We are not alone.
It's not the Nightmare Child, is it?
Hugh asked, his blood running cold.
No, it's someone else.
Zecora said, her voice trembling. Hugh turned his light onto the room's occupant.
Hello.
A feminine voice said.
I've been waiting for you.
Hugh turned off his light.
Applejack.
He asked.
Well, it ain't no ordinary Applejack.